to the Good Boy Podcast, the monthly dog storytelling podcast. I am your host, Ilya Alexeyev, and today I am joined once again by my brother Ian. Hey, Ian.
Back by popular demand. Everybody's just like, Ian, Ian, Ian.
I mean, even if that wasn't true, you would say that because you always
gotta brag yourself, you know. I'm a what is this, 4 or 5 time guest now?
Jeez,
I'm a series
5.
regular.
I think 5.
You gotta start introducing me as friend of the podcast now.
Brother of the podcast? Is that like a thing?
No, I mean I'm sure it's a thing, but I'm not. My brother is not the podcast. My brother hosts the podcast.
True.
So
True.
I would say friend of the podcast.
All right. Some great vamping. Ian, you're back again, and on this episode, I wanted to discuss, and I'm already slanting it from this title, so we can discuss that further. We can debate it if need be, but the joys of walking the dog.
Okay.
So, do you agree with that statement? Or let me rephrase it to make it a little more sense. Do you enjoy walking the dog?
I would say overall, in the grand scheme of things, I would say yes. Walking a dog is an enjoyable experience. Hang on, I thought I was gonna burp. I shouldn't have drank soda. That was a bad idea.
Yep, I should have been. You got your own drink. I should have gotten you a drink and just got you water. So you're stuck with that.
I thought about that. Okay, and I didn't even need to burp, but okay. But anyway, and go. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if you're gonna cut that out. I know everybody's dying for the burp content and the everyone going Ian. This is like.
Oh, now I'm leaving this in.
Everyone's like, this is why I come to this podcast.
If you would have just stopped but no, it's fine.
I'm waiting for the occasional appearance of Ilya's brother, so he can do things like Ian,
chant his own name,
and then not burp anyway.
What have I done?
Overall, let's get focused. Overall, I would say that walking the dog is an enjoyable experience. However, there are particular instances where walking a dog can be a nuisance. And I'm sure you have specific examples off the top of your head when I say that you can think of.
Yes.
And you can probably think of one particular situation that we dealt with.
Oh, yeah.
And we're probably thinking the exact
I think I know what you're talking
thing.
about. That didn't come to my mind initially.
Okay, well, we'll have to hear what came to your minds. But if you're just talking about, the inconvenience of picking up poo, usually it's not that big of a deal. It's usually pretty easy.
So we're going to go on. I agree. I think walking the dog is generally an enjoyable experience. So the kind of negative things briefly is it can feel like a chore, which depending on kind of your state of mind and your responsibilities and things you want to do, that varies. If you feel like you're really busy, well, then walking the dog is going to really seem like a chore. If you kind of I have plenty of time to just do whatever I want, take care of what I need to, walking the dog can be enjoyable.
I think walking the dog is also kind of a big business model as well. People, since you brought up people not having time to walk the dog.
Yes.
But I don't think that involves the joys of walking the dog. But I think now I have this image of this is a very 90s comedic thing of someone's walking a dog walker and they're walking 8 dogs and they're all going in different directions and pulling the person.
And then they see a cat and then they all chase the cat.
So
that's comedy.
That is pretty funny. I'm just laughing just thinking about that image right now.
So picking up the poo can be a little not fun.
Okay, I'll say this. I think people probably, when they go I don't like walking my dog because of picking up the poo. I think the general overall experience, it's really not that bad. It's not that big of a deal most of the time. However, I can tell you of some instances where it's not. But I think it's a minor inconvenience to your experience.
And it largely depends, and a lot of it too depends on your dog, right? I mean, is as obvious as that sounds. If you have a smaller dog, picking up the poo is going to be less of a thing. If you have a big dog, like I've experienced, where the poo gets a little messy because of how big it is, it's hard to pick up. You get some on your hand, and that sucks.
I noticed that you decided that this was an episode called The Joys of Walking the Dog and not The Joys of Picking Up Dog Poop.
You
You
know,
could make that an episode,
we're
too.
recording back to back episodes.
That's the next episode.
That's the next episode.
I won't be on that episode, so you don't have to deal with me.
I'll get Demo on
You
that
can
one.
have Demon. I mean, he could be an expert on that. But I mean, like, yeah, I think like the worst times of like picking up dog poop is like when it gets a mess, or I've had instances where I've walked the dog and it's been messy, it's gotten on my hand, or the dog. I don't know how dogs do this, but dogs poop like multiple times a day. It's like pretty incredible. I don't know what their metabolism system is. I am not an expert on the dog digestive system, but like for a dog to just like need to get it all out on a like 20-minute endeavor is, I don't know, if you think about it, kind of impressive, like, and but also kind of annoying. I've had times when I have been walking the dog. I am a big I must pick up the poo guy. All you people, and I will talk about this. I'm going to make a point of talking about this later in the episode. All you people with lawn signs about dogs and poop, like, most of you need to calm down. I think most dog owners are good about it. It's always like someone who had like one bad experience and then like overreacts and then has to make a grand like there is no pooping allowed in this realm kind of thing. You're like, just
Yeah,
all right,
and I would
calm
say
down.
too, if you're the person who had their lawn have poo that not picked up, at least you have like a hose or some tools. Like if you're walking the dog and maybe you forgot a bag, they pooped twice or whatever, you ran out of bags. Like
Yeah.
that is a way tougher scenario to be in than to have someone leave poop. You know, whether intentionally or whatever.
I just don't think it's worth your money. Personally, this is now an investment podcast. I don't think
this
it's
is-
worth your like $5, $10, $15. I don't know how many dollars these cost. I have not researched dog signs.
Oh, I'm looking it up
He's
right
gonna
now.
look it up, and like anti-dog signs. But like the minor inconvenience of like once in like, I don't know, like here, like, and when I was living at home, I can probably remember like one or maybe two instances of random dog poop being here. Like, I think most people take care of it. The signs are just like super passive aggressive. Anyway, my financial advice is don't spend your money on that.
It's like at least $10.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I don't think it like the one singular. Okay, so just so you know, I studied economics in college. So like this is just a classic cost benefit analysis right here. The cost of the sign is not worth the benefit. I don't even think like you hit a point when it goes there. So I know this is kind of drifting off topic,
Oh,
but like
I'll say you talking about passive aggressive signs. None of these signs are ever cute. There's no cute way of saying pick up your poo. If anything, if you have a sign, I'm more likely to leave my poop.
I'm not
Sorry, not sorry.
This podcast does not endorse leaving dog poop on passive aggressive people's lawns.
We're losing all the sponsors now.
Yeah, this is it's going to be on the headlines of all the internet. You're going to see dog podcaster goes off the rails, loses sponsors. No, like again, it's like one. Okay, this goes both ways though. Like the people who don't like pick up dog poop. It's like, come on. Now, I will admit, there has been an instance, like very rare, and you mentioned it briefly. Like, it was an emergency. Like, there was no dog bags. So, like, I've actually gone on a walk, did not have the ability to pick up the poo because I'm not going to pick it up with my hand. Walked home, got a bag, walked back, and picked it up. I have done that. but like, again, I know it's gross, it's awful, but anyway, to the other people who aren't picking up the dogs, like, I don't know if there's like a person who's just randomly who like going like, I don't pick up dog poop. Like, it's not that hard. It's really not that big of a deal.
Hose it into the sidewalk.
Well, no. I'm talking about the
yeah,
walkers.
sorry.
If
The
pick up your
walkers, yeah.
Like, it's just do the right thing for your community. Pick up the dog poop. People shouldn't be so judgmental on their signs. I get it's annoying.
This is a call to action. Everyone, please pick up your dog poop so we never have to see those please pick up your dog poop signs again. Because
most of them are awful. So I'll say I've seen like probably hundreds of this, and I don't have a dog, but like I go walking quite a bit, and I see them all the time. And a lot of them make me laugh. A lot of the times they're just like, and I don't mean like, oh, this is genuinely funny. Like it's like, it's just, I personally find them. I'm sorry if a bunch of your fan base is a big I like no dog poop signs fan base.
they can come at me, at me. You know where to find me.
This is the most controversial episode ever.
This is controversial, but for the worst, for the most light reason ever.
This is a controversial topic. I will say this: like, a lot of them are they're just weird too. The signs, and these aren't like people who made their own signs who are putting weird things. These are like professionally made consumable goods that people buy, and they're weird. I've seen just one ever that are like, that's a fine, I can live with that message. And that message was, kids play here, please pick up the poo. And that's nice and respectful, and that's okay. And I am so pro that sign. But like the signs that says, you cannot allow your dog to poop here. I can't control my dog when he squats. When she squats, she'll just squat down. I can try my best to move them, but sometimes dogs just go, and these are well-trained dogs. When you gotta go, you gotta go. It's my responsibility to pick it up, but like I hate the attitude of like, you can't poop here. I just find it weird.
If my thing about that is have a fence that goes to the sidewalk, if that's your thing.
If you're like, I don't want random animals that are leashed.
So we've gone through like 10 minutes and we haven't talked about the joys of it. But
well, you encounter these signs while walking your dog.
And so briefly though, the other unjoyful things is when you're walking the dog and then you see people out in their front yard, and because you don't know if my dog poops.
Yeah,
like,
the pressure.
What are they
going
to say?
Yeah,
what
I
will
don't
they
want
say?
I don't want a confrontation where I am now being like scolded by someone while my dog poops, which has happened to me.
And I will say that like Saturday morning person out in their front is different than weekday person in the morning. It could be the same time each day, but those are different people. And nothing like too annoying has happened with me on that front. But anyway, let's get past that. So this episode is just gonna be 2 minutes of like, yeah, it's relaxing. Okay, that's it.
All right, shall we sum up the episode so far? I chant my own name. I burp and then say, don't cut this out, or I should have been cut out, but then I made it a bit, and then we talked about dog poop signs. All right, so far so good.
Yeah, this is better than I thought it was gonna be. Awesome. Okay, so in general, walking can be a very relaxing activity.
Yes, and it's nice to take your dog out and see the scenes, and then you get to see your dog happy. I think one of the biggest joys, it depends on your dog's personality, but of the dogs I have had, they have always been very excited. Except when they get a little older, maybe they're not as excited just because they're old, and you're like, when you're old, you get tired, and when you're tired, you don't really want to do stuff, which is fair. But for the most part, dogs get super extremely happy just by getting the leash out, or like we have a drawer where you would get the bags for the poop because we are responsible people who don't need signs to tell us to pick up poop. or to not let our dogs poop there. Whenever we would open the bag, like that drawer, like Mikey would get
He
super
had the
excited. He
Pavlovian
like, knew.
instinct of
Dewey would start going crazy. They knew. They just knew. They knew the routine, and that in itself is a nice little joy. That's before the walk even starts. You go, all right, I'm doing a thing that's making my dog really happy.
And I feel like that's like, yeah, totally agree with you. And like that's something that like I don't think humans have. I don't think most people have something that brightens their day that much every day. You know, like
Yeah, it's like a regular routine
right?
that you like. Think about like the routines you do that make you happy. Do you go like, oh yeah, I'm gonna turn on my Xbox.
Yeah, brushing
All
my
right.
teeth.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't, because it's like, I mean, what are the things that even like do that for people? Where it's like, oh, I was surprised and we ordered takeout or whatever. Like maybe that's something, but it's like you don't get that every day.
You know what it is? It's when you see your dog get excited about pulling the stuff out, then you get
large
happy.
brain.
You may not be getting like all excited like
Yeah.
your dog, but it does bring you joy. And yeah. So there we go. I think that's just a nice little routine. It's just really, it sets a good tone for your walk. You're like, okay, this is going to be good.
Yeah. And just briefly touching back on poop, just real quick, is after the dog, like we've had Mikey, he poops, and then, pick it up, get that procedure, get on with the walk, and then he'll do like a big yawn, and that always cracks me up. Like, he's like, I pooped, I'm happy.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How many percentage of episodes do you think touch upon poop? Doing the math.
I'm gonna ballpark off the top of my head. I'm gonna say 25%.
25%. Okay.
Mention them, but it could be less.
I mean, that's pretty good. Like, that's a good pitch for the podcast. Hey, we bet about 250. If you're looking for conversations about dog poop, I'm just trying to spitball some ideas here live on the episode.
I just love that question.
I don't know. It just popped in my head.
No,
I feel
great.
okay. So I was on the last episode, right?
Yeah, we talked about.
Yeah, we
dog
talked
sitting.
about poop again. I think we talked about poop.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one.
Or
who
maybe
brings it
we are
up.
just children.
Okay, I'm going back to saying another joy is just dog poop on the walk because it's funny.
Because it just has that adolescent humor to it.
No, I don't know. It's just a part of the routine, and it's I don't know. Like, it's just kind of.
And so,
yeah.
Touching back on what I said, depending on your dog is depending on how well behaved your dog is, it could be a breeze. If your dog's well behaved, you walk, you encounter another dog, they smell them, whatever, they don't. But that's where the joy, there can be some stress in there, is if your dog's not the best at handling other dogs, especially if other dogs bark at yours. Like there can be some.
Well, it kind of goes on to like how well your dog was able to get socialized early enough, because I don't know, like I don't think necessarily every dog has experiences with other dogs, and if your dog has been, usually that experience is okay. Maybe if your dog isn't, maybe your dog's skittish around other dogs, that could be an issue, and then you gotta kind of think about that. But I don't know, that's such a big topic that I don't know.
Another unjoyful thing is when you kind of zone out, and then like a dog in someone's yard barks and it startles you. You ever get that?
No, I don't get that. Here's one of my big beefs with walking the dog. I'm a pretty avid walker myself without dogs, and when I go for a walk, and I think this is a little bit different between like the human experience for walking and the dog experience for walking. I like to just go. I'm gonna go on my little route. I want to keep going. Dogs like to go window shopping all the time. They gotta sniff And then sometimes your dog might be stubborn and you want to keep going. I mean, it depends on what you as the human are trying to get out from the walk. Like maybe you're just like, I need my dog to get outside and get that like walking experience. But like sometimes for me, I want to just walk and then I need to take the dog out too. But the dog's like got their own little agenda on mind, and then there's a conflict. The agenda's like, I want to go. Oh, dog's got to smell this flower for about 17 seconds, and don't try to pull
And
me
if it
away.
was 16 seconds, it'd be all
That's
right.
not-
But you cross that 17
I'm
second
really tired.
threshold.
It's like there's nothing there. That's the other thing. It's just so very weird. I mean, it's just weird. It's not weird because it's obviously normal because it's just the whole experience. But like when you think about it, it's like kind of a weird social dynamic of like, you know, dogs, since they're so nose oriented, are just walking around and they're like, this is how we see what other people do. And I'm using people and I'm doing this from the perspective of dogs. So I guess I'll say dogs for this to make sense. Oh, we get to see what other dogs do. I'm gonna smell this thing for about 28 seconds and pee on it afterwards because that's what I do.
Can I, okay, I'm gonna mention something that you used to say all the time when we would walk the dog. You would gently but grab the dog's tail and say, "This is how they used to walk. This is how cavemen walk dogs."
It's true.
Like you probably did that at least 10 times.
Well, okay. So this is for some context. You got 3 brothers. You got maybe 1 dog or 2 dogs. So, you know, there's more hands free. You know, you're just walking around. You don't necessarily you're not controlling the dog. So sometimes you want to walk up close to the dog and then you gently, you're not yanking. You're mature enough not to yank a dog's tail at this point, but you hold the dog, and then this is kind of really like dad joke territory, but whatever. You hold the dog because it's like, you know, it's like a leash. It's something that extends from the dog, and then say, "This is how cavemen used to walk dogs."
You just sat here and explained the joke. I think everyone gets it.
You know,
The point is you kept doing it.
no, it's not a joke. It was an explanation into a real theory.
A theory.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's preface that with
Tell
a
me
theory.
how. Hang on though. Let me propose this question. How do you think cavemen walk dogs?
They probably didn't have. I don't know. Like
You're saying cavemen walked them unleashed?
probably
Are you saying they didn't follow leash laws?
there weren't leash laws.
Well, then where do you think leash laws came from?
I don't know.
The
You know
leash
what?
lobby.
Now I have some homework.
Yes.
I have to look up the origins of dog leashes and
I'm telling you,
dog
the leash
domestication.
Lobby, the leash lobby is out.
So
to get you.
going back to the actual joys part,
I'm sorry.
is that
I'm like derailing
it
this.
like so assuming your dog is well behaved and all of that and nothing bad happens, it's really easy to just kind of like zone out and like, you know, at this point I think most people are gonna listen to music or a podcast such as this one, but you know, you can kind of like get into that like kind of like chill, like decompress kind of like mindset.
Yeah, and do you have? I'm just
No,
not
and
sure what
no,
to
no, and
comment
like
on.
I enjoy that, like especially that you were
It's a
touching.
relaxing activity.
You're touching on like the pace where it's like, well, the dog it's usually a little slower because they stop.
You know,
they
I
stop
think it
and
depends
smell.
on where you are with your dog. Because, like, okay, let's go back to like when we adopted Mikey. There was no way for you to have a relaxed walk with him because, you know, he's at this point where like, I gotta chase a car, I gotta do all this. Oh, there's a dog over there, I'm gonna like pull. Oh, I'm at the corner now, I gotta really pull really hard to go to the other edge. So I don't know, it depends on where you're at your dog. And so let's just say this. I'm gonna address this if maybe someone who's just got a dog or something, and they're like, what is he talking about? It's not relaxing. It's building a routine and a regiment with your dog, and you kind of fall into that. I think it really depends on where you are with your dog. It's where the dog's energy and maturity is at. It's all about all sorts of things. But once you get that rapport with your dog, sure, yeah, it becomes routine. It becomes secondhand, and then you can relax.
Yeah, and so what do you think about the people who have their dogs sit at the corners?
I think that's good. I'm always really impressed with that. I think that's a really good idea. You know, I don't know. What do you think?
I think that I am.
I don't think I would do it.
In the past, I have been too lazy to do that.
I don't think I would do it.
Maybe
but I think it's smart.
You know, I don't know. It's hard to say without me being in that whole mindset of like, okay, here's my new puppy or whatever. I'm gonna train them very, very well.
Well, I think it's like all about like again creating the routine. The dog starts to know the boundaries. The dog knows these kind of things. I mean, when we started walking Mikey when we first got him, you'd have to bring treats to make it work. Otherwise, he's going bananas. So, yeah. I will say this though. It's walking your dog's a really good way to kind of get to know your dog, which I know seems like kind of a weird thing, but you kind of learn a lot about your dog's personality while you're on the walks. Like, I mean, the dog might act one way at home. The dog acts a different way while walking out and about.
That is a fair point.
So, yeah, I think when you walk the dog, you're getting an insight into your dog's mind, and I'll think about Mikey. Think about how he interacts with other dogs. The classic thing with Mikey, and I don't know if this was talked about ever, but there was that one time we walked him. It was you and I on a walk with him. We just got him.
Is this what you were alluding to at the very beginning?
No, it's not what I was alluding to at the beginning.
Okay, this is what I thought you were alluding to at the very beginning.
He saw a cat at this.
Oh, I'm talking
bush.
about a different thing.
Now, see, we're not on the same page. We'll get there eventually. We'll figure it out. We'll reveal the cards in a second. But like, he saw this cat. And he saw it as like one corner, and the cat ran in the bush. And so for like years, I'm talking about like at least 5 years probably.
Yep, at least 5 years.
He would start getting super hyped up, super focused. Like,
and he would
this is where the cat
every
is.
time we went by that bush, he would look to see if that cat was there.
Like, he would start to kind of pull because he's like, I gotta see if the cat's there. I don't think the cat was ever there.
I mean, I don't think cats will just sit in the same bush all day.
I mean, I don't know.
And then the cat probably ran through the bush to run away. Like, it's not like it was. Like, I don't think it was hiding there.
Maybe that's something they talk about on the Nice Kitty podcast.
We don't talk about them here.
Is that a rival?
It's the rival thing that doesn't exist. So what I was gonna add to just and I may have told this story before, but I don't care. I'm saying it again. There's one time where you and I were walking the dog.
Is this what you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
And, everything was going normal. It's like, it was a summer day. I don't remember. Mikey was, 3 years old. And we walk by this house, and they have a dog in the front, but he's chained up. And it was a similar. It might have been a black lab, actually. I don't know as well.
Was a black lab.
And we're like, oh, okay, he's chained.
Which is funny with Mikey, who is a black lab. He gets particularly excited when he sees other black labs, like it's his community.
And so I believe I think the dog was just like sitting, and then it saw us, and then it ran to the limit of the
length of the leash.
The restraint it was on, and it did not reach the sidewalk, and I was like, okay, and then somehow it broke it.
I don't think it was like in a stake. It was like,
yeah, it was probably just like
stake was in.
It was
the
probably
ground
just like
that
a kind of flimsy stake in some dirt. And I think that happened like it broke it like right after we passed the house, or maybe like we went by like another house length, and then the dog came like running towards us, and I stood in between because I was like, I don't know what this dog's gonna do. And the dog like hit me in the back of my legs, and I like fell over like Mikey. I got like unintentionally
Yeah, you know, and
tabletopped.
like someone, and what he means by tabletop is like someone. This is an old bully trick with multiple bullies. And I shouldn't be discussing. I'm anti-bully, just for the record. But like you would have someone behind the person, kind of on all fours, so their back is kind of where their legs are, and then the other person pushes the person, and then like they fall over and trip. So like you know you can get pushed, then you stumble, but you keep up. But by hitting the person that's right behind you unexpectedly, you fall over. Essentially, these dogs bullied my brother. Your own dog.
Except you say these dogs, but one of them was our own dog.
So
But anyway, like, I don't think anything happened. Like maybe there was some growling, and then the owner came out of the dog and was like, I don't know. I literally have no idea what the dog's name is. Jackson, whatever the dog's name was. And then this dog just ran a couple houses down and down someone's driveway, and that was it. So that was like those are like, you know, like it ended up being okay. So I don't want to say horror stories, but those are like the negatives.
It's an issue you don't want to.
You don't want to encounter that.
No, here's what I was talking about when I was talking about some of the nuisances of walking the dogs. It depends on your situation, but when we had Mikey and Dewey, and I know I've definitely talked about this before, it is so annoying to walk both of them individually where you're there together because they're just going to do their own thing. It's not like we trained them really well. It's not like we ever trained Dewey. I mean, I guess we trained him.
We taught him how to shake.
Yeah, but they were just insane when they were like if you had two people walking each dog, they'd be very easy. It wasn't an issue. But if it was just one person, I don't know if they knew that they had a little more leeway, but they would like do their own thing. They would start to go in other directions, which
they would like crisscross, and it's like
if you're on your own, if you're with someone and they want to go different directions, it's not that big of a deal. The two people just do whatever they have to do. But when you're on your own and you're having two dogs try to go two separate ways, it's annoying to deal with. So I think like
and when that would happen when you're by yourself, that's like for me, like if I was listening to like a podcast, like I would get frustrated because I'm like not focusing on it because I'm like
I had times when I would take them both out on a walk and it would just be me, and I'm like, I'm done with this walk. I'm taking you guys home. You guys don't get to go for a walk right now. I've pulled that a couple of times.
Did they ever say we're sorry?
I don't think they have ever apologized to me.
Dang, I'm sorry. They never apologized.
You know,
that must be rough.
It's just something I got to deal with every day.
So
definitely something I think about every single day.
We spent 75% of this talking about the things we don't like about walking dogs.
But I think there's not too much to say other than it's nice to walk a dog. Like, it's nice. I mean, I said, well, let's review the tape. It's nice to go outside. It's nice to see your dog get excited. It's nice to kind of get your dog in a certain situation. There are 3 good things there. This is more neutral. It's not that bad to pick up poop. Not that big of a deal. A minor inconvenience. I wouldn't even, if I were keeping score, like let's score the experience of walking a dog, I wouldn't even mention picking up poop because I think it's not that hard. So I think we discussed more things that are positive about it. We maybe had longer stories about some negative things, but that's because the negative experiences are about conflict, and conflict's where stories come from. So I think I'm still very pro walking dogs. I think it's a good idea to walk a dog.
Definitely a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Ian, thank you very much for coming on again. Great little chat. Went down memory road, no pun intended.
With the dog on the leash?
With the dog. No, with no leash. You just grabbed the tail.
Yeah. Well, that's how the cavemen did it.
How did they pick up the poo?
That's a good question.
They used their long beards.
Okay.
All right, this is over. Thank you so much for listening. You can please follow and subscribe wherever you can on your favorite podcast platform, on social media. The Instagram account recently crossed 500 followers, so thank you everyone for following. I don't have any idea of how many of those people like listen to the show or like any of that crossover, but hopefully they all do.
And if you're not listening to the podcast, so this is a pointless thing to say. If you're not listening to podcasts but following the account, listen to the podcast. I guess you could put this on the account, me saying this. It's a good podcast if you like podcasts.
There you go. I'm gonna put that on
It's a good advertisement.
The commercial, the DVD cover. So thank you so much for listening, and keep petting those dogs.